Hi, Francie. I have something to tell you. But before I do, I think I'm going to give you a few seconds to prepare yourself before I drop this big piece of information in your lap. Don't worry. I'm okay. Mom's okay. Dad's okay-ish. Alright, so from my okay-ish, you've probably figured out that my news predominantly concerns Dad. Dad is leaving the church. With all the anti-LGBT rhetoric going around, he said his conscience couldn't carry the weight of it anymore. I mean, obviously it's not like he's preaching against the LGBT community, it's just he is the pastor of a church that has a history of agreeing with and sometimes spreading that kind of hateful rhetoric. He called it his little doubts. He kept telling me how scared he was to tell Mom. Because if only he wasn't married, then he and only he would have to deal with the consequences of his decision. Like the dramatic bunch, aren't we, Francie? Obviously, he and Mom can't keep the house after he resigns. Is that even the right term for it? I don't even know. All I know is, without this job, they can't afford the house, which means they have to sell it. Now, you're probably wondering, how did Mom take all of this? Well, I can give you a pretty good description, seeing as how I was the one who had to tell her. Not only that Dad is leaving the church, but also that they're moving to this industrial town called Milton. So Milton is apparently a place where the gap between wealth and poverty is very apparent. So Dad wants to start an arts program for disadvantaged children. A lot like the one he has here for our community. Hearing myself say that out loud makes me think that Dad has been planning this for a really long time, and his primary concern really was just how Mom would take it. Fortunately, I was here when he decided to tell her, because if I hadn't have been here, I wouldn't have had the wonderful opportunity to stay up until early morning hours listening to how other people would be reading in her favorite spot or cooking in her kitchen, or God forbid she had to bear the idea of other people's children sleeping where you and I had. This conversation took us until 2 in the morning, at which point Mom had another upshot of fear when she realized Dad hadn't even found him a house in Milton yet. So naturally, I started a house hunt on my laptop that very moment, which is completely fine. I couldn't leave Mom in that frenzied state anyway. I mean, she's been a pillar for this community for so long. She cares for and loves everyone. I guess she just thought that this is what she was going to be doing for the rest of her life. It's really hard for her to think of her life outside of Helston. Now, how do I feel about this? Well, you're probably the only person wondering that right about now. I'm not the one moving to a strange new city to start my life all over, Dad's doing this for me and you and everything we believe in, so I'm proud of him. Sometimes, Francie, when I'm walking down the stairs, a wave of memories hits me. I remember the two of us playing in the backyard, pretending to be Aragorn and Legolas fighting off orcs with plastic samurai swords that we got at the fair. Oh, I have to go, Francie. I totally forgot that the real estate agent is supposed to call me in a few minutes, but I will talk to you soon, and I can't wait to see you in person, okay? I love you. Bye, Francie.